used to be called the Vietnam A building, never completed. Does that sound a little bit fishy?
Can't readily get information at the tip of the iceberg. Unlimited cash flow and cash cow, dramatic arrests, money talks, everyone listen. But in this case, billions of dollars walked out. Ghost companies
Really going through its house of cards moment through desperation. This scheme had to have come from an international perspective. Literally the largest banking fraud in Vietnam's history. It's greed, power. Having a plan is not enough. You would not play chess blindfolded. You know exactly what you're getting into. That doesn't sound right. Military precision in the jungle of business. So that's the video we want to share with you today. My opinion is, so the story you're about to hear is the biggest banking scandal in Vietnam's history. It involves the Vietnam financial system, the banking system, and also the Vietnam economy. It is a staggering $44 billion. That is 44 billion with the B US dollars. That is a quarter of Vietnam's GDP and will have many ramifications to come. So imagine billions in cash, a real estate empire in turmoil, and tons of arrests that will send shockwaves through Vietnam. This isn't just a scandal, it's a seismic event that will impact Vietnam's financial system for the future to come. This is as big or even bigger than the Bernie Madoff SEC violations and scandals in the United States. This story that we're going to tell you today has a really big impact on what will happen in Vietnam now and in the future. It is even better than a Hollywood movie that you can't even write with a Hollywood director, but maybe a Vietnam director can do it. So today we're going to talk about this group that has committed a scandal for over 20 years. We will dissect the story, we will give our legal opinion, and we will tell you what the ramifications are in the future. So fasten your seatbelt because it's about to be a bumpy ride. So hello, my name is Ken Duong, international and business immigration lawyer with over 15 years of experience helping individuals, companies to invest, live, and retire all over the world, including Vietnam, United States, Grenada, Portugal, many parts of Europe, Thailand, and Singapore as well. And we have helped thousands of people invest into Vietnam. Thus, we want to make sure that they are fully protected when they come. So let's start with the protagonist of this massive embezzlement scandal and also fraud. So at the center of it all is a Chinese-Vietnamese businesswoman named Mrs. Trương Mỹ Lan, who started off quite humble beginnings in Vietnam. She is married to a supposed Hong Kong billionaire and founded Thinh Phat Group right here in 1992. Starting off with very small charter capital in 1992, she quickly expanded into a global real estate company. However, it was not all smooth sailing. So although throughout the years there were many lawsuits against VTP, especially in 2005 with a $6 million lawsuit for deceptive and fraudulent practices, nevertheless, VTP became a real estate behemoth, owning some of the most monumental buildings in Vietnam, like one right behind me. Used to be called the Vietnam A building, now it's called Union Square. And then also a $470 million construction project of the Times Square building, which could be valued right now at over $1 billion. So as you can see, that's just part of the portfolio. There are many others as well, such as the Tung Kieu Plaza that was in District 5, also Windsor Plaza as well in District 5, and many of these other projects that were purchased, licensed, zoned, but never completed. And you will see all of those projects as well. But here's the catch. For a real estate behemoth like VTP, Mrs. Trương Mỹ Lan and her inner circle are missing from the VTP website explaining who they are and what they do. Does that sound a little bit fishy? So after all, it could be seen that VTP Group and many of its subsidiaries are not listed on the stock exchange. So therefore, they don't have public reporting
compliance and you can't readily get information about them. But that is just a tip of the iceberg, because the empire also expands to coffee shops, restaurants, different hotels all around Winghui, which is where we are right now. So what information does the public have about VTP? So now let's try to connect the dots between VTP and SCB, or Saigon Commercial Bank, one of the biggest banks currently in Vietnam. But how did Miss Lang, turn SCB into an unlimited cash flow and cash cow, including a Ponzi scheme that affected the nation of Vietnam? On October 7, 2022, there were dramatic arrests of Miss Lang and also her niece and many of her leadership. This caused a panic amongst the public and a liquidity issue for SCB. But the bank distanced itself from Miss Lang, saying she was not involved in any of the operations, nor was she a shareholder. But then you ask, how was she able to exert such influence on SCB? So when money talks, everyone listens. But in this case, billions of dollars walked out of SCB, or the banking system in Vietnam. To understand the alleged manipulation, you have to understand the complex web of companies, institutions, and organizations that have been created. So there have been over 1,000 entities created under Ms. Lang's control. And you can look at the chart as I explained so you can understand how complex it is. It involves financial institutions, domestic Vietnamese companies, ghost companies, and foreign companies. And there were thousands of these particular entities that were formed, but they were all under Ms. Lang's control without her being on the paperwork. Since December 2011, Ms. Jung Mi Lang and her intermediaries started acquiring 81% of Saigon Commercial Bank, or the old one. Also, they also acquired 91% of Thinh Phat Commercial Bank and about 90% of First Commercial Bank. With this ownership, she was able to merge all three banks together to become a very large bank. Through the merger of these three banks, Ms. Jung Mi Lang was able to control 85% of shares via individuals, companies, and other entities acting on her behalf. So over 91% of the shares of SCB are controlled by Ms. Jung Mi Lang and many of her entities and individuals as well. So you can see that there are different names under different guises, because the law in Vietnam only allows you to have 5% ownership. But of course, now through her testimony, we will find out a lot of information about how she was able to structure these deals. By exerting control over SCB, Ms. Lang was able to place her top leadership and key positions in the bank, but also exerting influence over them by paying them between $200 to $500 million, which is $10,000 to $20,000 per month of salaries, so that they will be in the key positions with extensive banking and finance experience, so you can't argue their knowledge and skills. Also, she was able to have a labeling system called HSTT, which in Vietnamese is Hội Sở Tiếp Thị, which means marketing headquarters. So whenever files had HSTT, it meant that they were reserved or specifically for the VTP group. But under Vietnam's banking regulations, no entity or individual can have more than 5% of the bank. But yet she controlled 91%. The question is, how was that possible? And the answer is, it was through many entities, very intricately placed, bought, and organized in order to have more than 5%. Wow. I'm not sure, but I could possibly, since I'm here at the SCB building and the news has been coming out that there might be protests or even possibly arson or setting fire to the properties that are owned by Ms. Jung Mi Lang, including this SCB bank. So that's something to look at, something to consider in light of all the trauma and the distress by the people who have lost a lot of money. The results, a staggering $44 billion was siphoned
from the people. It is 22% of Vietnam's GDP up to date of 2023. The investigation by CO3, which is a police arms investigation of corruption economics, led to the discovery that 93% of all the monies lent out to companies were VTP or VTP-related companies, and only 7% were loaned out to regular customers. This is a high-stakes financial manipulation game, but Ms. Lang was playing a three-dimensional chess while everybody else was playing a two-dimensional checkers. So there's huge impacts to the Vietnam's banking system and economy due to this large scandal that has never been seen before in Vietnam. It is very akin, or even more so, than the Bernie Madoff scandal, whereby he used his position as SEC director to manipulate the SEC and who they should actually look into. But the US economy is much, much bigger than Vietnam's economy. Therefore, the impact of $44 billion being siphoned is a much bigger and dramatic impact than it normally would. Just like the Bernie Madoff situation, reforms in the banking system, financial system, securities were made. And I think Vietnam also needs to do that in order to continue to grow and attract foreign direct investment, because after this scandal and even slightly before, foreign direct investment did not come into Vietnam as much as it should, especially in other sectors besides real estate and manufacturing. So Vietnam is really going through its house of cards moment because we don't know if the foundation has been laid properly in the financial sector. So now that you know the general picture of what's happening, but of course the case is still ongoing and there will be a lot more information as well, and we'll probably have a follow-up video. But at this moment, my opinion is that I think there's a lot of desperation and a lot of misinformation about Miss Jung Mi Lang and her husband, the Chinese businessman. Maybe they're not as rich or prominent as you think. When they first came into Vietnam, they may not be as rich or successful prior to coming into Vietnam. And through desperation, maybe a certain level of ethics or morals that caused them to create this big scheme. Moreover, $44 billion in an economy now of only $346 billion, and 20 years ago definitely was much smaller. This scheme had to have come from an international perspective, or a scheme that has been done before, either in the United States, Dubai, or in China as well, whereby the economies are trillions of dollars, and 44 billion doesn't sound a lot. But I'm sure someone else was behind it for this whole entire scheme, and that Ms. Lang and Mr. Chi were just a part of this big scandal or scheme. They were caught up in it, they enjoyed the lifestyle, they invested a lot of money, and therefore they couldn't get out of it, because there are many times that she tried to give up Vietnamese citizenship. She also tried to leave the country. And even at one time, she had over $2 billion of cash outside of the country, but yet she still decided to come back and continue the scheme and continue to buy off the officials and others as well. So when you have enough money, you just want power. And I think that's what happened with her in this situation, and thus has caused the biggest scandal and scheme in all of Vietnam's history that is continuing to unravel. This is literally the largest banking fraud in Vietnam's history. It involves greed, power, and manipulation of a lot of people and a lot of money. It is pretty much a Hollywood thriller that should be written into a script and adapted. So let us know about your thoughts on this particular situation as you continue to read and get more information about the Jung Mi Lang and SCB scandal. So just like every story, there should be the moral to the story. For us, is understanding to help you to invest into Vietnam. Having a plan is not enough, but having the right plan and making sure you have protections in place that will impact your business. Foundation is key. Similar to building a skyscraper, you will not build it on sand, because you have to make sure the foundation is solid. Treat us as your architects in order to lay the framework, especially in entity formation and then regulatory compliance for your business, so your foundation is laid before you start doing business in Vietnam. The second call to action is if you can get a Vietnamese passport, it will give you a lot of advantages such as opening up a company in Vietnam, following the local rules, not having to follow all the foreign regulations of opening and running a business in Vietnam. So our team of experts will be happy to assess your case to see if you can get the Vietnam passport. Number 3, intelligence is your best investment. You would not play chess blindfolded, thus you would not enter a market without the proper intelligence or information about the market itself. We provide a due diligence service for financial security so that you know when you invest into Vietnam or into a project or a joint venture partnership, you know exactly what you're getting into. Number 4, partnerships with precision. Imagine tandem skydiving with an unvetted partner. That doesn't sound right. We vet through your potential partners, ensuring that your business leaps are with parachutes that are packed by the best. Number 5, legal eagles by your side. In the jungle of business, legal disputes are the quicksand. We are the vine to help you swing clear of all these dangers, including fraud, debt collection, breach of contract, and other disputes that we not only advocate for you, but we fully defend them. In the market of life, your best commodity is your instinct, so trust it, but also have legal advice and also structure to help you along the way. So that's the video we want to share with you today. And we want to know, do you think that all the people, the $44 billion siphoned away, will the people get it back? We don't know, as this story of Ms. Trung My Lang and Vang Thinh Phat continues to unfold. But like always, on behalf of Duong Global, my name is Ken Duong. We always try to bring you the best information, but make sure you like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment below about this exciting story that is happening, and also click on the bell for notifications. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.